make goes to a charity. That is very uncommon in the business world. Would you say that's uncommon?
Yes.
Totally uncommon, but that is what's happening. So we are one of the recipients of the money from Changes Worldwide. Probably my most often question is, how did you get into rescuing children? It was tragedy. A lot of times our passion comes from tragedy. Am I right?
Yes.
So unfortunately, I was in the Philippines with my husband, and we were going up a river, and we, on the side of the bank of the river, I saw a Caucasian guy, about 6 foot tall Caucasian guy, and he was exchanging money with a Filipino man who had a woman with him. And so I thought I was going to watch a drug deal go down. And then it kind of went into, I was incredulous. It's like, oh my gosh, because a little girl was pulled out from behind this lady's skirt. And then I was like, it was almost surreal. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but he held her for a while, and and we were moving, so everything was now coming over my shoulder as we moved up the river. And he said, I was saying to my husband, I can't believe this is going to really happen. It was awful. Anyway, everybody say it was awful.
It was awful.
And so he played with her, threw up in the air, and she giggled like any of your children would, and then he took her onto the rocks and he raped her. And so I was in that position, and of course I leaned over the side of the boat, puked, couldn't do anything about it, and the boat went up the river, and it was awful. But about 2 weeks later, I was in another city in the Philippines, and I watched children who had been fathered by U.S. military and mothered by prostitutes in the Philippines. And I watched our children. I mean, if they're fathered by U.S. citizens, do you agree they're our children? Do you agree we have a responsibility to our children? And so I went and found a pastor, and I said, we got kids sleeping in the street, eating in the gutters, and being used every night sexually. I want to put them in a house. They said, great, we bought the house, and that was our first safe house. That was in 1989. So I'm kind of like the old guy on the block on this. I've been rescuing kids for a long, long time. They are my heart and my passion. So we have safe houses all over the place, overseas, but we also rescue children right here in the United States of America. Just so you have some statistics, 1.2 million children are trafficked worldwide every year. 1.2 million trafficked worldwide every year. That's about one kid every 2 minutes. And here in the United States, we have 150,000 kids trafficked every year in the United States. And where we live on the I-5 corridor, hello, Salem, Oregon, is one of the worst in the United States, because I-5 corridor goes, of course, all the way from Vancouver, BC into Mexico. And I have tracked our little blonde girls into Mexico. I mean, it's just terrific. And so we live in a very, very bad place. And so we have a safe house right here in Oregon. And we not only rescue kids, we get them back, we catch the bad guy, and we get them healed after it's all done. So that's kind of what we do at Call to Rescue. We just spend our whole lives talking to parents who are completely frazzled, they've lost their kid, and then we're there the minute that mommy gets to see and daddy get to see their kid come home. I mean, there is nothing better than watching mom and dad see their kid come home. You can live your whole life with that happening once for you. So that's what we do. And we take about 40 emails a day. We rescue 3-4 kids a week here in the Pacific Northwest, and then a couple around the United States where people call us and know us. Is it okay if I take about 3 more minutes? I'm just going to tell a story.
After 2, you've got as much time as you need to tell.
Well, you should never tell me that. But anyway, all right. So I got this phone call one day, and it was a mom, and she said, I hear you help find kids. And I said, yeah, I do. She said, mine's gone. I said, great, we'll find her. And so I said, give me all the background. So this young lady was about 19 years old. She had a job. She was an adult. She had her own apartment. She had her own home. And she walked her dog every morning. And so then this other lady decided she was going to walk her dog with my girl. I'll call my girl number 1, bad lady. Has everybody say bad lady? Bad lady's number 2. Okay, so they were out walking their dogs together, and the bad lady number 2 said, "Hey, why don't we just share an apartment? Why are we both doing rent? My rent's, my lease is coming up. Why don't we just share an apartment?" Okay, so my girl, at this point we would call her dumb girl number 1, but anyway, she said yes, and when bad lady moved in, 50% of all women are 50% of all pimps are women. When they moved in together, bad lady brought a gang, drugged her, and she was out on the street. And we found her online, and we tracked her online, and then they crossed state lines with her, which let us bring in the FBI. All the local police were on board, and it was pretty amazing. The only thing, we lost her trail, the only thing we had to go on was the apartment. The apartment was still rented. And I said to Mom and Dad, I don't know what you can do. We have lost all of our leads. I said, the only thing that I can think of to do is to get all your friends, get them all on a schedule, and do a 24-hour stakeout in front of that apartment. I said, do I know she's going to be brought back there? Absolutely not. But when all is said and done, you need to be able to say to yourselves, we did everything we could to find our kid. And they said, absolutely, they did the stakeout. They rented a car, did the stakeout, and one night they were sitting in front of the apartment building, and those bad boys brought her back. That was a miracle. So we're doing all this by text. So Mom texts me, says, what do we do now? They brought her home. I said, go call the police. So we had the chief of police in this area is wonderful. We worked with him a lot. He went plain clothes car, no clothes on the car. Yeah, very important. That's very important when you're doing a stakeout, right? And so he went and he went and knocked on the door, and they opened the door, and he stuck his foot in the door, and he opened the door, and he grabbed girl number 1, and he said, you're coming with me, smiled at her, backed out of the apartment, went down the stairs, went to the car, opened the back car door, said, get in the car, looks at Dad and said, drive. And so then they text me again, what do we do now? I said, well, get rid of the rental car, get in your own car, drive north on I-5. When you get to the right place, I'll have a place waiting for her. Mom and Dad have relocated because that whole thing completely changed all their lives. They can't go home. But the girl is safe, and she's getting healed, and all is well. And that's what we do.